I am going to enter a scalp here, so it's just a good educational thing, right? So I already have a larger scalp that I entered here, and a regular short-term trade. And Matic's been going sideways ever since. Now I'm actually entering a 20x scalp right here with the reset on the 15 on the 5-minute chart. I mean, the hourly's reset, 1 minute's reset a bit, and these really low time frames are good. Now the 15-minute is up high, but since the 5-minute is just now resetting, we might get a bounce and could potentially, if we get back up to 185 even, I'll be able to make a nice profit because it's 20x, right? So if I make just 1%, if we get up to like, oh no, hold on, 185 is right here. 1.25% would be a 25% profit on the trade. And I haven't entered yet. It's dipping a little bit right here. This is why sometimes I'll drop down to the 1 minute, right? So I started at the 5-minute. The 1 minute's coming down lower. Potentially right here to 182. It's getting low. So if I enter right here, since we're getting pretty close to that turnaround in the 1 minute, there's 9 seconds left. Let me see, the next 1 minute candle might be the entry one. Let me see. Hold on. All right, next candle. We might need 1 more minute to come down. No, I'm just going to do it now. It's close enough. If it comes down a tiny bit more, I should be fine because the 5-minute is so close. Now, you can just scalp up and down in the 5 minutes. You can go from here, as soon as you turned up, you get a nice move up on that, right? And then sell right at the top, let it come back down a bit. Even if it bounces a little bit on the way down, once you get that full reset, you can make another attempt on the 1 minute. So, all right, I just did it, just got the buy-in. So now I have a 20x going. I'm going to end this short video here, and then I'm going to splice in a second video, so you'll hear me pick up in a minute with the results of this short. Oh, sorry, of this scalp, long scalp. So I just entered right here, and I'm looking for a move to at least 185. And if I even just go up 1%, that's still a 20% profit on the trade because it's 20x. If it were to go down, once I'm down about 15% on the initial investment, I'll just close it and take the loss. So it's essentially like I have a tight stop loss. 15% at risk for a 20% gain. Now, normally a 1-to-1 RR is not good. My risk to reward is so close. I want to have a 10% profit potential and a 1% risk. That's a 10-to-1 RR. But with this scalping, even if it's 50-50, if I know that I have a high probability of success, that's fine. Because look at the 5-minute chart. Bottom of the Stoke right here, right? This bounce, perfect. Bottom of the Stoke right here. Even this bounce was perfect. So on the initial move up, if it loses steam and comes back down to my entry, I can sell for break even. This one right here, same thing. This bounce. Oh, no, sorry. We already did that bounce. This bounce here on the bottom of the Stoke on the 5-minute was a nice sized one. Once it starts coming down and it gets high on the Stoke, I can reset it and I can close it out, take a tiny profit, or I can wait until it gets back to my entry and break even. But either way, I'm breaking even worst case. This one, big bottom to the next top, huge gain right here. Bottom to the top. So even though the dumps are bigger, it doesn't matter. If I buy in on the 5-minute and sell at the top of the Stoke on the 5-minute, I'm still making nice big profits for 15, 20, 30, 40, 50% on each little move. All right, I'll do another video in a second. We'll see how this plays out, but I'm in right now and I'm expecting a nice bounce. Well, nice bounce for a scalp like this is a very small bounce. Overall, I'm looking for 1 to 2%, which is anywhere from 20 to 40% profit with a 20x leverage trade. All right, I'll be right back. Okay, here we are, part 2. So my entry is down here. Originally, I was saying 185 would be my target, make 1.5%, right? Oh, I started a little bit lower, so 185 would have been my 1.5% target. Now we're pushing up a little higher, 1.8%. If I can get up to 2%, I'm making a 40% profit with my 20x trade. Now, the 5-minute is reaching those higher levels on the Stoke. I mean, this was intended to be, I'm teaching you about scalping, right? On the short term, lower time frames. It looks like getting high. I could probably call it quits here. Now, it's dipping back down already, 1.5. Pretty close to what my original target was. I wish I had sold right when it was at the top. I mean, right now I could take the essentially profit that I was talking about taking at the start, where I was like, oh, I can make With 20x, that would be a 30% profit. Let me see. Right now, yeah, I'm at about 30% profit. I gotta go help Jenny make dinner for the kids. I still have my other trades open. I'm gonna close this one. So there it is. It's closed. I'm out. So I made my 30% profit on the 5-minute move up. Now after it resets, I can do the same thing. Now you may ask, why don't I long like that and then short when it reverses back down? Well, generally you want to go with the trend. So this trend here, we're getting big moves up and smaller moves down. Big moves up with big pump candles, and then smaller moves down to an extent. So like on the way down here, it's a little bit different because this is a bunch of tiny little candles going back and forth each way. We're not getting big pumps. Here we got a big pump up. We didn't get one big dump where all 5 candles erased these 5 green candles, right? Same thing over here. We had an initial bounce, nice big green candle, and then on the way down we get a bunch of tiny little red candles, right? Down on this one, big move up with all these big green candles, then a bunch of small little red candles. Over here, a bunch of big green candles. Now when we do reset, it's probably going to take a little bit longer than the move up. And on the reset, you're going to get a bunch of smaller little red candles. Now the inverse would make sense. If I were to go back to another period, like, I don't know, I got to find a good example here. But see, this was aggressively bullish here over this overall. I have to find a segment, but you know what I'm getting at, right? So by looking at the chart, you could be like, oh, this is, we're getting a lot of big dump candles here, and then the bounce up, a bunch of big red dump candles, smaller green candles on the way up, big red candles dumping, a bunch of smaller candles on the way up, and then we reversed short term over here. Big red candles dumping, small candles sideways up, small bounce up, big red candles dumping. So during this entire segment, it was a bear trend. Now, interestingly, if I were to do this, and I were to add a circle around this section here, which was bearish, you'll see the difference between that and now where it's bullish. Check it out. Where were we? Here we go. See over here? This, where we had the big red candles down and then the small green candles up and the big red candles down and the small green candles up, that was during a retrace on the hourly, right? Over here, where we're actually bullish, we're starting out low and turning up on the hourly on the Stoke. That's why multiple time frames in your analysis is crucial. Because if you're looking whether or not you're in an overall bearish or bullish trend, like this big bear trend here, if I go back, even though there's a bunch of up and downs on the hourly, if I go up to the 4-hour, you'll see this was all part of, at least from here, right? This was a downtrend on the 4-hour. This was a big move up on the 4-hour, right? So that big move up on the 4-hour with these big green candles, if I go back here, you'll see before this big move up, that was a bunch of big moves up on the hourly. Same thing. So now when you go down to the lower time frame, you're kind of breaking it down lower and you're saying, all right, well, based on this overall trend here, we have an hourly bullish scenario going. So each of these smaller candles are going to give us a big move up and then smaller moves down because the overall trend is bullish. If we get a reversal and the overall trend is bearish, then I would invert that. So I've done this a few times today. This is a really good example where I was able to show you. And it's a perfect example. I just made $150 on a tiny little short-term trade, and I could do that 5-10 times a day. As long as you see an overall bearish trend here, overall bullish trend here, overall bearish trend here, overall bullish trend here, right? Now, it also depends if you're looking at that particular segment, whether or not the Stoke is usable. So here, I said, of late, this entire segment here has been really predictable. Every time the price action is going up or down, it perfectly aligns with a nice full wave on the Stoke. So every time you get down to the bottom or every time you get down to the top, you can reasonably predict if it's going to go up or down, except since we're in a uptrend and it's a little bullish, the moves down aren't really good for shorting. You're better off playing the bounces up and ignoring the moves down. When it resets, you play the next bounce up. If we were in an overall downtrend, I would short the big moves down and then stay out for the bounce, right? And then, so look, this big dump here, I would short that, and then this bounce on the Stoke right here, I would completely ignore it. You could trade it, but we're looking for bigger gains, and the bigger gains happen on the way down when you're in an overall downtrend. So when the hourly and the 15-minute chart shows from here to here, we are downtrending, right? It's a better option during that segment to stick to the shorts. So I would short on this, ignore the move up. Short on the big move down, ignore the move up. Short on the big move down, but even I can do it smaller. I can go instead of ignoring this big bounce and shorting this big dump, I can short this dump, ignore this bounce, short this dump, ignore this bounce, short this big dump, ignore this little bounce, short this big dump. Then down here, I would initially have ignored the bounce up, and then I would have said, you know what, we've seen a shift in the trend. If I look up at the 15 minute, you can actually see right here, there was a shift in the trend, right? So I just showed you this segment where I said short the big move down, ignore the little move up, short the big move down, ignore the little move up, short the big move down. Then on that bounce, I would have said, all right, initially I ignored that bounce and I didn't long it, but then when I see, look, we're seeing a shift on the 15-minute chart, we're starting a bullish cycle here. That means on this move up, it would be better to switch it. So when you see that overall trend changing on the 15-minute, well, now on the 5-minute down here, I would have switched it up. And instead of going for ignoring the moves up and only shorting the moves down, I would change it, and I would go long on the moves up, and I would ignore the dip, and then I would bet on the big move up and ignore the dip, and then it changes. So changes up again when the 15-minute reverses and starts going back down. So this entire move up here was when that 15-minute was bullish. Here's where the 15-minute was bearish. Now the 15-minute's bullish again, so I'm back to playing this bounce up, ignored the bounce down, played this bounce up, and now I'm waiting for it to come down again. I'm going to ignore that and then play the next push up after that. And we might be able to take it all the way up, in theory, to this main trend line up here, see which goes all the way back from here. So we might get up close to this trend line that's up there. Then we have another trend line short term. So you also need to incorporate trend lines into the strategy, but at the very least, we do have a few good targets. So this could go all the way up there and then it retraces, but I think after the next retrace, I might get in again. I'll be busy with the kids having dinner, so I'm probably going to skip that one, but that's the gist of it. Now, would it make sense to enter, because I entered into a short-term scalp here and sold up here. I entered in down here with you guys on the last video that I've spliced to this one, and I just exited up here for a nice profit. Now, if I were to just enter down here and hold and wait and see how high we get, could I do that? Well, that would be the same thing I'm doing now on the 5-minute, but that would be based on the 15-minute, where I would have bought in here and rode it all the way to the top. The only issue is the 15-minute stoke here really isn't that reliable. We're not getting big full waves from top to bottom. Over here we were, right? So over here, sure, I could have been scalping the hell out of this, and that's a much bigger profit. The higher time frame you do this on, the more money you're going to make, because on the higher time frame, this move up wasn't just 1.5%. Like this move up was 5%. That's 100% profit on a 20x trade. So again, it's really risky if you're doing 20x leverage trading, where you could lose a bunch of money. But if you're identifying the overall trend, it looks like, based on this chart, if I had been doing this strategy all day long and betting every single reversal, I would have been right like 20 times, and I only would have been wrong like 3 times. So even if each time you have a 50-50 chance of winning or losing, well, you don't really, you know what I'm saying, but if you always have a chance of taking the loss, that's fine. If you know your odds are you're going to make money on it, you're going to actually get the win because you're identifying those trends. All right, that's it. That's a good example and a quick lesson on how I'd scalp real world. I've done a bunch of these lately, but this is a video dedicated to it as opposed to on the live stream where I entered into a scalp with you guys to show you live. This one I can show you before when I first got in and exactly how it played out. Again, I'm ignoring the 15-minute, looking at the 5. I'm expecting this to dip here. That's why I got out right at the top. Now this is going to come down. And after this 5-minute resets, I'll try it again. And then if the 5-minute stops being a reliable model like this, look, dumping. See, I sold at the exact time I should have. Now it's dumping. If this starts falling out and we're not getting clear, repetitive up and down waves, I'll stop doing it, right? You can only use a strategy when it works. And when the chart's all over the place and you're not getting those consistent up and down waves like that, it's not usable because you don't have a pattern that you can actually use to predict behavior. This would be a good idea to short because I'm confident it's coming down. But again, this comes back down to what I said. I played the long up here and the long up there, and I didn't short this move down or this move down because we're not getting an overall trend. That means we're going to get a bigger dump. I would only get a tiny, tiny profit. And if this dumps further than the move up, that could indicate a reversal in the trend, and then I might switch the strategy again. You know, if you have any questions about this, let me know. I'm going to do live streams where I do this stuff too, more live trading where I can show you real world examples, but this is, you know, this sort of stuff's only going to be for the premium group moving forward. This is just one. I've been doing them free for public, and now I'm going to be doing them just exclusively for premium members, and even the basic members of the group. I'm not going to share a lot of these video updates with them. I'll still do some, but most of it I'm going to keep that to exclusive premium content, because my premium members really do a lot to support me, and they have my back, and I like giving them as much exclusive content as I can, and I think that's a great part of what I do that would really help them out if it was exclusive for them. So if you have any questions, let me know. Feel free to drop a comment in the comments below. That always helps feed the algorithm. And obviously share my content if it helps you, because I want to reach and help as many people as possible. Even people who don't join my paid group. I like helping people who can't afford to join a group, people who are just starting out. A lot of my content can be helpful to people who are new to this game, and I really want to help protect people from losing all their money. And if I can help them make money, that'd be great too. But helping people avoid getting wrecked is really what would make me happiest. All right, that's it. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not already, and that's it. That's all I got for now. All right. Trade safe, trade smart. Catch you later.